Today on this program, the greatest motivator, the greatest encourager is here.
He has a powerful voice. He's known as the greatness guy.
You're going to learn to live your life to the fullest.
It is so good to have back with us. I call him the greatness guy, DELATORRO McNEAL.
So where did you get the principle, born to win, but conditioned to lose?
It comes from my book, which is called Robbing the Grave of Its Greatness, which you and Pastor Randy did the awesome forward to. And what I've learned in life is that all of us have been born to win. God created all of us to dominate, to rule, to reign, to win, to succeed. But I believe that most people in life have been conditioned to lose, conditioned to settle, conditioned to, as Dr. Miles Monroe would say, meander in the maze of mediocrity. And it actually comes from a premise based upon a scientist who did a study on fleas. And he took about 10 fleas and he put them into a canister like this. And then he immediately put a lid on top of the canister. And of course, what do the fleas begin to do? They start jumping up and down, trying to get out of the canister. Well, after about an hour of doing this, the scientist was able to take the lid off of the canister, and he never has to worry about the fleas getting out of it again. Fleas that have the potential to jump 36 inches, born to jump 36 inches, now can't jump 8. They were born to win, but they had been conditioned by life and by a temporary circumstance to lose. What happened to the fleas? Because most times when people tell the story, they say, well, the lid is what conditioned them, and so we just kind of take the victim role with the fleas, but we don't understand that the fleas lost their vision. What happens is, after they hit their head several times, they said, okay, obviously there's pain above me, so I'm not going to attempt to jump any higher because I perceive a level of pain above this particular point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to still jump, but I'm just not going to jump as high. I'm going to still produce, but I'm just not going to produce everything that God has called me to do, because I perceive that something is above me, whether it's a proverbial glass ceiling that we say in corporate America, which is a bunch of garbage, whether it's an at-risk label, which is a bunch of garbage, because all of us have a lid of limitation in life. And it could be divorce, it could be foreclosure, it could be debt, it could be a failed business. Okay, I tried that business one time and I failed, so I'm not going to start a business again. I'm just going to go back and work a job the rest of my life. Or I tried to get an A one time in school, but it just didn't work out, so I'm just going to settle for C's in life. Come on now. And it's amazing how conditioning affects every area of our life. We can be conditioned to church. We know when to shout, we know when to jump, we know when to run around. But my question is, what are we doing Monday through Saturday when the organ's not going? Come on now. And we're not conditioned to play church, because in church I believe that I can win. I believe that I'm the righteousness of God. But if I don't believe that Monday through Friday, by the time I get to the third red light on the way home from your sermon, I will have in my own mind, because of conditioning, talked myself out of everything that you just spoke over.
Well, that's what Proverbs 23 says, as a man thinketh, so is he. Let's deal with this. How does a person pull the lid off?
Well, the amazing thing about the study is that as soon as a new flea goes into the canister, a flea that knows that there's no limits on what it can do, what it can be, what it can achieve, a non-previously conditioned flea, when that flea goes in and jumps back out, and the rest of the conditioned fleas see that, they start jumping out too.
So it's going to be the power of association. So when a new flea gets in with the tin and begins to jump out, the others follow it.
The other previously conditioned fleas jump out too, because they get their vision back. And that's exactly, because what happens is the fleas lose their vision. Even when the obstacle is not even there anymore, they don't jump as high because they lost their vision. And I look at people like yourselves and Bishop Jakes and all the great preachers and teachers in the nation. We go into audiences full of people who think they can't write books, start businesses, rebuild their marriages. Come on now, start ministries. And we jump in and we show them how we did it, and we jump back out, and people and audiences all across the world start jumping out with us.
We need to pray for our leaders. It's vitally important.
And Pastor Paula, you and Pastor Randy were tremendous support for myself when I was conditioned to working a job, and I got laid off and went from 50 grand to nothing in a day. And I had a new house and I had a new bride, and I had no clue how I was going to afford either. And I went and met with Pastor Randy, and he said, son, your season is changing, your brook has dried up. And I was conditioned to think job, 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 when God was trying to help me birth my dream. Because I was never designed to work for corporate, I was designed to work with corporate and to empower people and go and change lives. But I was thinking job, job, job. So I sat under you all's teaching. Come on now. I was sowing into first fruits and believing God for great things, and that he really did give me the power to get wealth and become an entrepreneur. And I was paying rent at one time, and now I'm collecting rent. Come on now. You know what I'm saying?
That's a better side.
Exactly, exactly. And most people are caught between a dream and a job. They're caught between a paycheck and a promise, and we'll have to talk about that later. But primarily, that happens because we're conditioned to think that we always have to go to somebody else to get our finances and to get our financial breakthrough. When we get around individuals like you who dream and think and see things that we just simply cannot see, that's when the entrepreneur rises up.
Right.
That's when we say, you know what, I was born to do great things, and the true money that's going to come in my life is going to come as a reward of me solving a problem for somebody else using my purpose and my passion.
You know, that's what we taught our children. I told my children, don't ever go for a job, don't go to school just for an education. You find your passion in life and figure out a way to make money.
Okay, so how does someone actually get out of the jar? How do they get their vision back? And we talked about associations. There's 3 kinds of bones in life: jawbones, wishbones, and backbones. Jawbones are people that just talk about it. Wishbones are people that just dream about it and claim it. Come on now, you know what I'm talking about. But backbones are people that get up and do about it. And so what happened was those conditioned fleas saw the backbone in that flea that got out. So, you know, see what I'm saying? So we've got to become doers, and the first thing that we've got to do in order to condition ourselves to win, because if you can be conditioned to lose, you can be conditioned to win. So how do I do that? Change your associations. Input determines output. I can tell what's coming into your life based upon what's coming out. I can look in your car and look at the tapes and the CDs and the books that you're listening to and determine whether you will accomplish the goal that you have based upon the input. So if someone is not pleased with the output that they're getting in life, first thing is you got to change input.
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. This is something that I've walked out, I've lived. It is so vital, because what goes in is what's going to come out of you. Tell me about the bumblebee mentality.
I love it. I mean, you've heard the story hundreds of times, probably told it. It's a scientific fact that the bumblebee is not supposed to be able to fly because its body is too big and its wings are too small to support its weight. But here's the thing, nobody ever told the bumblebee.
And so it just did it anyway.
It just does it, you know. But most of us haven't been as lucky as that bumblebee, because most of us have been told that our dream is too big while our resources and our finances are too small. We've been told that our vision that God has called us to is way too big while our network and our background is too small. So what we've got to do is, he said, you know, I gotta feel the fear and do it anyhow. I like to go back to mathematics. A negative times a negative equals a positive. If a negative person tells you what you can't do, you better go for it. Because that means, come on now, because that means, because, you know, whenever people say you can't do it, that's when you must do it. Because now the heat is on. Pastor Paula, you talked about it.
You know, we dedicated our books.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
It's like, thank God for all, your enemies do more for you than any of your friends. Because your friends create comfort. Your enemies create reward and challenges.
That's right. I believe that when we don't have a vision, goals are fuzzy in our life. Positive people seem like examples of where we're not because of a scarcity mentality. There's 2 mentalities in life, scarcity and abundance. And it's important for us to understand which paradigm most people are operating under. Because the sad reality is that most of the people that you tell your good news to aren't really happy for you.
Crap syndrome.
Come on now. They're operating on the scarcity mentality. Scarcity mentality says that there's one pie. You get a big chunk, there's less for me. When you get a promotion, that's less of an opportunity for me to get one. Come on now, when you get a house, that's one less house that I could have. Abundance mentality says there's unlimited pie. So as long as I position myself the same way you did, mine's on the way.
I like it. Come on, God's telling someone right now, abundance mentality.
Come on now.
This is good stuff.
Well, you know, you were talking about receiving, and Pastor Paula, you demonstrated one of the greatest strategies for getting unstuck between the, you know, born to win but conditioned to lose, which is you asked yourself better questions. You didn't ask disempowering questions. You said, what is God trying to teach me? What am I supposed to learn from this? Instead of the disempowering question of, why am I going through this? Come on now. You see what I'm saying? So if we want to change the answers we get in life, we got to start by changing the questions that we ask.
We are asking.
Of ourselves, of God, of the people that are in our lives. We've got to change our associations, because people are just like elevators. They're either going to take us up or they're going to take us down.